All right, moving on to the next L of the week. Who the fuck is David Zaslav, and why is he getting $887 million in a golden parachute?
Martin, you don't know DZ, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery? Come on, this guy's been shaking up Hollywood for like years now. So this guy was the CEO of Discovery Networks and then brokered some crazy deal to buy Warner Brothers a couple years ago from AT&T, which saddled the new company, Warner Brothers Discovery, with a ton of debt, over $50 billion in debt, and not nearly enough cash flows to pay that off. But he's actually done a pretty good job of offloading some of that debt down to about $39 billion. And then, as we all know, the deal happened with Netflix, and then that didn't happen. And then Paramount Skydance came in, which is owned by the Ellisons, to buy Warner Brothers for about $77 billion, something like that. I think that's the price. And so he is getting an $887 million golden parachute. The issue with this, now I actually think it's justified, but I'll get into why this is being protested. So ISS,
why is this an L?
This is an L because
I assumed it was an L just because it's an obscene amount of money. But maybe.
I think the whole thing is kind of an L. Like, okay, this guy is getting rich off of the fact that he sold Warner Brothers to a company that we don't want to own Warner Brothers. There's a lot of reasons why it's an L. I'll get into that. But what's happening here is that ISS, Institutional Shareholder Services, is telling their customers, which basically is like, it's like a proxy company. So it's like tells institutional investors how they should vote on certain things because everyone who owns a share can vote, to basically vote against his share package. Now his pay package. His pay package includes about $500 million of it is unvested stock that will automatically vest when the deal closes. Okay. $335 million is an excise tax gross up, which basically means it's like a gift to offset taxable income, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it's still money because if it didn't go to him, it would go to the shareholders, right? So a little bit of griping over that. Let's look a little deeper at this. I don't think that it's the pay package, to me, isn't that big of an issue considering the value he's created. WBD was trading at $7 to $8 a share in September. And then he created this bidding war between Netflix and Paramount Skydance. All right. And just that bidding war alone moved the price from like $27 a share. So it went from $7 to $8 a share to $27 a share. And then the bidding war that he created added another $7 billion to the purchase price. So I don't understand how any shareholders could not be happy with DZ right now. Like they should be on the floor rubbing his feet and shit. Like he should be a god to them. But this is what happens, you know, when like the deal's done, so people just get greedy about trying to make sure every dollar goes to them. They also don't like the fact that he's getting all that stock accelerated to vesting because usually it requires a double trigger event, which means that the company has to be sold and he has to not have a new job lined up. So in other words, if a CEO leaves to another job, they don't usually get that stock vested. Technically, I don't know if he's getting a new job, but he can get a new job. So he has a single trigger event for the stock vesting. That's the other gripe. But here's also why this is an L. And I want to ask you what you think about this because you're a film guy. I'm sure you have opinions on this deal in general. But what makes me happy is to know that this sale to Paramount Skydance will make them completely buried in debt. They will have $80 billion in debt, which is about 4.3 times their earnings, which is so bad that Fitch Ratings, which is like the premier asset rating company, downgraded their bonds to junk status, which means that retirement accounts can't buy them, are not allowed to buy them, right? So it's like, plus they have to pay a lot higher interest rates on that debt because it's junk status. So Martin, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm confused because I thought you said that he should be worshipped as a god by shareholders because he created so much value. And you said you thought, if I understood you correctly, that the financial compensation that's being awarded to him was deserved in some way.
That's what I think. I think that you created so much value, like just going from, adding $7 billion to the sale price, just from putting the bidding war together between Netflix and Paramount. I mean, that alone has to be worth something, right? But I want to hear it from a film buff's perspective because I know that people in the film who are film enthusiasts or in the community or work in that industry hate this guy and that this deal was allowed to
I don't know too much about it. I really don't know anything about him personally, but I wonder if it's going to lead to less competition in the film industry and it's just going to consolidate more and more big industry players and it's going to lead to like less interesting creative output. That's my immediate reaction, is that this consolidation of Warner Brothers Discovery into Paramount Skydance is just going to make it so that they control more of the business, and for that reason they they can kind of trample over everybody else who might have something interesting to offer the industry.
Yeah, I mean,
More
that is what's happening. But my opinion is that that's more due to the unit economics. Like, it's just really expensive to make good, especially like think about Warner Brothers, right? There's a reason why they've changed hands so many times. It is not cheap to make some kind of, highbrow scripted drama like Game of Thrones, right? I mean, think about all the projects they've pulled over the last couple years just because of money. And DZ, who came, was CEO of Discovery, right? That is not their MO. They make really low production value garbage on Discovery, right? TLC and Discovery. And then he goes and he's like, what the fuck is this HBO? How much are they spending on this Harry Potter project? Like Batgirl and shit. But I think you're right. But I think the consolidation was going to happen. It's just that, I would have liked to see it go to someone else because, well, Netflix is already the biggest player, really, if you look at the size of their company in the film and TV industry. But they have a tendency to not be like laying people off all the time. They generally try to take care of people. But I mean, the people who bought this are also the owners of or largely shareholders in Oracle, and they just laid off 30,000 people, and 15% of Paramount after buying it, right? So that's where it's going. And that's why everybody should be up in arms about this. And also the amount of debt they're taking on forces them to do that. They have to offload people. I think that it was inevitable for it to get sold, but did it have to get sold to them? I hope that, somebody challenges this down the road and says, hey, this is antitrust. They're going to have too big of market share. This was not treated with the same kind of antitrust scrutiny that other deals are treated with because this guy is friendly to the Trump administration. Very friendly.
Okay. I see.
Yeah.